Hello and welcome to World of Tanks with Rapsikis. We're having a look at Johnny 8678, just Johnny for brevity's sake, playing the M41 Bulldog. Now, personally, I wasn't one of those who played the Bulldog with the massive autoloader. I bought it just too late, just before what they call the Light Tank Armageddon. So, I've only ever known the Bulldog in this configuration, and I am a fan. It's very mobile, it's got a very nice gun. I'm saying nice for good reason, not good or great. Decent shell velocity and not bad accuracy, but it's not great. It's not a phenomenal gun with great alpha and great penetration. It's just nice. And it's quite adequate for a tier 8 light tank. Now, you'll see Johnny is the first to get spotted and first to get shot in his team, so not off to a very good start. But it is important for the light tanks to light up the mid-ridge on this map early on in the game to make sure that the friendlies know where the enemies are going and so that they can plan accordingly. And Johnny almost rolls his tank there, but fortunately recovers. So 158 points lost, 122 spotted, but quite a few tanks spotted, so not a great start, but acceptable. Right, so if you have a look at the ammo loadout and equipment, Johnny seems to be a new player, simply because he's got binoculars loaded on the Bulldog instead of optics. So if you've been playing the Bulldog for a while, you'll know that optics are much more important, the coated optics, because you can get your view range high enough so that with coated optics you can get up to 445. As you'll notice in the minimap bottom right, the green circle is smaller than the white circle, so while driving he is not using his full view range. Coated optics will change that for you. Just judging by the size, the 10% extra view range that coated optics would give Johnny would be sufficient to get his view range up to max while moving, and that would significantly increase the amount of spotting damage he would receive, and also provide him with spots before he gets shot, so probably increase his survivability chances as well. Alright, then to the ammunition, you'll notice that Johnny did not load any heat at all. He's got APCR loaded, the standard APCR, and the HE rounds for this tank. So he doesn't have the penetration advantage of heat, although there are disadvantages to heat as opposed to APCR. So except beyond of course the lower profitability, higher cost of the shells, the heat rounds do tend to struggle to penetrate on tracks, and if you're shooting from a bulldog that's probably moving at quite a speed, it's hard to aim for very specific points of enemies. So the APCR with the fastest shell velocity and relatively good penetration, 175, is often a better choice than heat, not counting the higher price of the heat. Alright, so to the game. Johnny has already gained more than 1,500 spotting damage. I believe he spotted 4 or 5 of the enemies. I'm not sure exactly what the number is so far. And he has not fired any shells. So he's doing quite well. He's probably going to turn a profit to this point. If you consider the spotting mechanics the way they are, 1,641 spotting damage means the equivalent of just over 800 damage done yourself. So really not bad. And now you'll see he uses the terrain to go spot the Leo and gets a lot of spotting damage. As a matter of fact, all of the spotting damage on the Leo. So that's a very big advantage to the team, to be able to take out an entire tank without him having the opportunity to hit back at all. And now, while this position where Johnny was playing was very strong, he did realize that he was outgunned for the position, that Patriot could easily rush in and take him out. So he didn't linger, which was a very wise decision. So this position that I'm talking about, just to Johnny's left, where he was for a short while. That's a great position for well-armored medium tanks with a very good turret. They can take in that position, safe from enemy or relatively safe from enemy fire, and do some damage for the team. However, in a tank like the Bulldog, you don't really have any way of ensuring that you will bounce any shots. So to take up a position like that is usually folly. Right, so now Johnny is moving back. He noticed that the E-25 is falling back, and the Sture Emil is not pointing in his direction, so he doesn't really have any backup in that half of the map, on the western half of the map. So he falls back and moves up to the hill. I'm just going to speed it up a little bit. Now, some might argue that the team needed the spotting that he could provide in the west, but there weren't any TDs pointing in his direction. It was fair to assume that there wasn't any support. So to do spotting while nobody's shooting is a little bit of wasted effort and unnecessary risk to your tank. Now you'll see Johnny moves into a very strong position here. Fortunately for him, all the enemy fire to his position was taken by friendlies, and now he spots the artillery on the enemy team. He's trying to get a line on it now. He's spotted by something else. There wasn't a line from the 15550, so you'll see throw some zigs and zags in there to make sure that the enemies can't shoot him. Still they try, and he gets the spotting damage on the Lorraine. Unfortunately donks the shot into the ground, and some friendly and enemy fire falling around him. Fortunately he doesn't roll low, and he takes out the Lorraine 15550. Second shot of the match, first kill. Tiger P from the side is relatively easy to penetrate. Only the two frontal plates of 200mm on the Tiger Porsche. So from the side, relatively easy. And in this position, allow me to pause for a second. Diamond shaping for the Tiger Porsche is a bad idea because the bad armor is then flat. So I believe it's a total of 80mm of armor. Very easy for this Bulldog to penetrate. So from this angle, not hard. If he turns, however, to be head on, his armor will be more effective. Right, second kill for the game, just over 3000 damage done. Spotting damage, sorry, and 730 done. So already quite a good result. But it seems like Johnny is not happy with his position. If you look at the map, you'll see he's quite isolated. And typically if you find yourself alone, you'll find yourself dead. So very wise of Johnny to move back up onto the hill, so that he has the option to either fall back to his team and either provide support or be supported, or come back this way depending on how the dice rolls. Now you'll see he gets a nice line on the SU. It gets hit by the RT, so not a lot of hit points left, but unfortunately he disappears below the line and he decides to take some shots at the OI. OI's frontal armor minimum 150 mil, so at this range chances are you wouldn't penetrate. Alright, so Johnny notices there's a light tank and a TD rushing down on his friendly artillery, so he goes in to help them out. Fortunately the Hummel shotguns the E-25, and he snaps a shot into the Batchat that then sets him alight. Unfortunately his second shell goes slightly high and misses. Now he rushes down the hill, and very lucky to land that one. If he had pulled the trigger a millisecond later, he would probably have missed. Again, quite lucky to land that one. On the move while the enemy's moving, but not a very long range, so chances were in his favor. Now you've only got one friendly left, the Type 58, and there's a total of 4 enemies remaining. This is a very difficult situation. You don't know how much to push, or how far to push. And unfortunately, first shot on the SU goes wide. Fortunately, the SU-100Y misses his shot, giving Johnny time to reload and reposition. Now, we don't know where the Patriot is, we do know where the OI is, and we don't know where the RT is. So the Patriot is not the slowest of heavy tanks. It could have moved up to the mid-range by now, and indeed it has. Fortunately, Johnny ducks down below the gun line, and the Patriot is unable to land any shots on him, although he still tries. Johnny now quite clever to use his view range. The Patriot doesn't have as good a view range as the Bulldog, however, you never know. He might have a tremendous good crew and optics on the Patriot, so this range, the distance they are apart now, is insufficient to be sure that he's not going to spot you. I would believe it would be better for Johnny to move back, spot, double bush, and then shoot. However, there is an argument for trying to circle strafe. Personally, if I were Johnny, I would use spacebar to reduce the size of the circle you're driving around the guy and avoid this kind of shot. However, you can't argue with the result. Fortunately for Johnny, the enemy artillery did hit the Patriot, which immobilized him, or at least stunned him, and reduced his traverse speed. So, without that, I believe there may have been a second reload, and that would have been the end of Johnny's game. Okay, now Johnny is using his view range to ensure the OI doesn't see him, and he's smart to aim for the OI first to reset the cap. Now he turns his attention to the Hummel. We can eliminate in 2 shots, and does so. Now you'll see Johnny switches to HE. Even though the HE penetration is quite low, it's not important to kill the OI right now. It's important to reset the OI. Because he's capping, the HE should, with most shells, do damage and reset the cap. And if he can whittle down the HP of the OI enough, he should be able to rush in perhaps and get the OI from the side, which only has, I believe, 75mm of armor. So from this side, the 175mm of penetration that this gun has would be more than enough. But you don't want to take the chance to have to fire 3 or 4 times. The OI should be able to eliminate Johnny in 1 shot. Now you see Johnny waste shot after shot with his HE, not doing any damage. So the tally is going up, cap is increasing, no damage from Johnny. If a minute goes by, the OI will cap out. Fortunately, there's a little bit of damage, and the OI is reset. Nice roll for the HE. 46 and 37, but the OI is still more than 1 shot. However, Johnny has run out of HE. So now, Johnny is hoping to hit a couple of the weak spots on the OI. Now, frontally, the upper plate, I believe, is 200mm, but there are some areas that's only 150mm. So if you roll good on your penetration, this can happen. Kill number 7. Johnny, very well done to you. Let's have a look at the post-game stats. Ace Tanker, not surprising. Bruiser Duelist, fire for effect. Pascucci's medal for eliminating the artillery. And Patrol Duty for being the only tank spotting, I believe, at least 5 enemies. Defender for 100 defense points. High Caliber and Top Gun. If you look at the team details, by quite a safe margin, he's number 1 on damage on his team, and by nearly 400, just under 400 experience, he's number 1 on base XP. Nearly 3 times that of the highest experience on the enemy team. That's very impressive. If you look at the stats, the personal details, bearing in mind that he didn't even load any premium rounds, this more or less assures you of making a profit in every game. But Johnny also runs a premium account, so he nearly made 40,000 profit. Of the 41 shells fired, 38 hit and only 24 penetrated. Remember, quite a few of those were HE at the front of the OI. So quite a low chance of actually doing any damage there. The hits received and penetrated obviously the same, because the Bulldog doesn't have a lot of armor. And then you go to the spots, and Enemies damaged versus destroyed. 7 damage, 7 destroyed. That is quite a nice stat to have. Just over 3,000 assistance damage and nearly 3,000 damage of his own. Johnny, congratulations on this game. Thank you for uploading it to What Replays and showing us how to run the Bulldog without premium shells. Thank you for watching.